Hello, my name is Nicole, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, we are talking about the New Year holiday, being that many have talked about its pagan origins. And I just want to share with you some things that I've come across, and I hope that those individuals who are planning their next New Year's celebration, that they will do so according to the will of the Lord and not according to men and women. Now, I personally will acknowledge the new year coming in, but I will do it in such a way where, once again, it's about God. I am praying and I am ushering in the new year with fasting or whatever it is that God has willed for me to do. But I do understand, though, that there are those individuals who do use the holiday as an excuse to make a bunch of noise, go places and do some sinful things, drink much, eat much, have sex with strangers, all sorts of things. And as we all know, we're not supposed to be participating in such things, but we do have some people who believe in the one true God, but they tend to get a little bit carried away. Okay, so if you have done some things that you know you really shouldn't have done on New Year's, then I suggest that you turn that sin over to the Lord and work very hard not to fall back into that sin. Okay, and you can do that by focusing in on what God wants you to do in the coming days, weeks, months, and years. So you get around the like-minded, you read the word, you study, you actually take what you have learned from the scriptures and apply those things to your life. Many new believers start off with the Gospels, that's Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Others want to start off reading the Bible from beginning to end. I personally say you simply should pray and ask the Lord to lead you. And for others, if you are not disciplined enough to read the word on your own, you should be participating in some type of Bible study or class. So with that said, let us get on with this pagan holiday. Okay. We know that there is a rich history, like with so many other holidays, of some things that are not so good, so righteous, so true. Okay. And we know that modern day New Year's is pretty much filled with all sorts of sinful activity. But we don't always pay close attention to the pagan types of symbols and some of the gods that are acknowledged, because we simply aren't thinking about those sorts of things, right? We're just thinking about the first day of the year and putting the old away and behold something new, right? But there is this baby New Year personification of the start of the new year. There are just many pictures and images of this particular child who's being held by Father Time. Those who have studied Father Time, they will reference him back to ultimately Satan. Okay, but we're going to talk about the myth that's associated with Baby New Year. And that particular myth is that he is a baby at the beginning of his year, but Baby New Year begins to age very rapidly. And then he is turning into something that looks like a very old man. Okay. I know it's strange, but anyway, according to Wikipedia, very rarely is the Baby New Year depicted as any age other than a baby or as a very old man. Some stories, especially those with depictions of years past, will have him bear a strong likeness to key events in his time. At this point, he hands over his duties to the next Baby New Year, while he either dies or remains in this state and retires. Now, some people who have done research said that the baby that we see is actually a future sacrifice, okay? That it is a satanic entity that is holding the baby and is preparing the baby to be the sacrifice, okay? A blood sacrifice. There is this stereotypical representation of baby New Year as a baby boy wearing nothing more than a diaper, a top hat, and a sash across his torso that shows the year he is representing. He is sometimes depicted holding or associated with an hourglass, a noisemaker, or other item either pertaining to time or New Year's Day festivities. Often he is not a complete newborn, but instead more closely resembles a toddler because he's frequently shown standing on his own, crawling or barely walking, or having a small amount of usually blonde hair. Now, this once again is an idol, okay? Like the Christmas tree is an idol, like the Cupid is an idol for Valentine's Day, like the bunny is an idol for Easter. There are all these idols that tend to pop up with these different holidays. And this is where many people get into trouble who claim to be believers, because you are not thinking about the one true God, but you're thinking about all the things that are attached to the holiday that usually is about man-made events, traditions, woman coming up with her share of things, and none of these things have anything to do with the Creator. Okay? So this is why you have some believers who will simply say, you know what, if we are going to be doing anything related to a holiday, we better put God in on this, because I don't need the curses. I don't need the trouble. Okay. So people will be very creative in celebrating these holidays. But at the end of the day, God wants the idols out of sight. Okay. He does not want us glorifying, worshiping, displaying idols. None of it. Okay. But I do understand that some individuals will end up getting caught up in some things, even when they don't want to, due to jobs or due to someone in a family insisting that they help out with a special event. And out of respect for the mother, the father, the sister, the brother, what have you, they'll go ahead and do some things. But I suggest that you distance yourself from these things, okay, as much as possible. Now, some other things that occur, which many of us are familiar when it comes to the new year celebrating, is the drugs, the alcohol, right? Many people end up using that holiday as an excuse to just go off and do whatever they want to do. Okay. But if you are a child of God, you know that you're to exercise self-control. You know that you're not supposed to be falling by the wayside by doing whatever it is that the demonic wants you to participate in, or people who are in support of the demonic. You just don't do that. Now, more about Father Time. When we see this elderly bearded man, and sometimes he has wings, okay? Interesting, right? There are other images that derive, and that would be the Grim Reaper. There's also Cronus as the Greek Titan of human time. And, of course, there is the Lord of Time. This is why some people will just stay away from anything related to New Year's, okay, because of the association of the God or gods, okay. If you are a child of God, you don't need to be concerned about all of that stuff because you're not participating in it, okay? But if you are that one that you tend to swing in either direction, whether you're on the right side or on the wrong side, the left, or just out there doing whatever you want to do, once again, you got to be careful, right? You don't want to do anything that's going to keep you out of the will of the Lord, okay? So I just briefly wanted to address that because I know that there are those individuals who are very guarded about all things related to holidays. We know that the Bible speaks to us, especially in 1 Corinthians 14:33, where it says God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. And there are those times where confusion takes place with these holidays. You have some cultures who celebrate holidays on different days. You've got people who are argumentative about how to put together the celebration. You got others who want their gods to be acknowledged. There's just a lot that goes on. And so the believer who is in that type of family where a lot of stuff is going on related to holidays, he or she will distance his or herself, which is the best thing to do. Okay. So if you know somebody is planning something for next year, there's the Christmas celebration, there's the New Year's celebration and whatever other celebration, and you don't want to participate in that, then simply put, you say, I don't want to be a part of that, right? This way, you're not feeling some type of pressure to be at an event that you don't support, because God is moving on many men and women to let go of all of these holidays. And I'm a witness. Okay. It started off with one holiday where God was talking to me, and then there was another one, and then there was another one. And then before long, you got all of these different holidays, and every single one of them, there's something wrong with them. And then eventually you just say goodbye to all of them. Okay. But then there are those times, as I've said before, where sometimes you find yourself in these settings, in situations, whether on the job, off the job, or what have you, where there is the acknowledgement of the holidays, whether you agree or disagree, whether you celebrate or don't celebrate. And so we do things with all due respect when addressing people about what is near and dear to them. But there's far too many combative types of individuals who don't mind arguing about holidays and what they will do and what they won't do and what they believe in and what they don't believe in. And this is where you can lose friends very easily. This is where you can also cause problems in your witness because you're coming off in a negative sort of way. So you've got to watch that. Okay, because there are those individuals that, yes, we are well aware, they're like ancient Israel. They believe in their false gods. Okay, we may go into their homes and they have their false god imagery everywhere. We know, though, as long as you know the truth as a believer, that you're not to bow down to those gods. You know you're not supposed to serve them. You're not supposed to do any works associated with them. As long as you know that, that's it. That's your walk. That's what you're on. If that person, though, who you're in their atmosphere and this is what they do, you pretty much can't force your beliefs on them. All you can do is say, this is what I believe. And they may ask you, why is it that you believe? And that gives you an opportunity to share. But to just go in somebody else's domain and start talking about, I don't do this and I don't do that, and you need to take this down and all that. You don't know what God could have done in using you. But when you come across as very mean and you're ready to shut anybody and everybody down because somebody's doing something you don't agree with, you are basically closing the door on an opportunity for God to use you. So once again, we got to be very careful of how we are talking to people on and off the internet about these holiday celebrations. So we know that there is something wrong with just about all of these holidays, right? After New Year's, the next one is Valentine's Day. And that one has its history that basically celebrates sexual partners. But Valentine's Day over the years has a satanic influence to it, and a lot of it deals with the flesh, with carnal desires, the types of things that Galatians 5:19 through 21 speaks of. And then, of course, we all know about the birthdays and the Halloween, and Christmas and all of that. Just on a side note, when it comes to birthday celebrating, because this is something that I know that God is working with me on. One thing I recognize about the birthday celebration is that the enemy, he interjects himself into a lot of these events by using things as well as people that appear to be harmless. Okay. When the Greeks were celebrating their birthdays, and I know that this is going off topic in terms of New Year's, but I had to mention this. When the Greeks were celebrating their birthdays, they believed that everyone had some type of protection, a spirit or demon. Okay. And that this spirit or demon will watch over them. And there was some mysticism related to their acknowledging their birthdays and so forth. And so you've got these people who they have their meanings as far as why they do what they do on these different holidays, like a birthday. And so you may be celebrating the birthday and not thinking too much of anything about it, whereas somebody else is celebrating the birthday and they look at it as a very deep and very spiritual thing. Okay. The Greeks, they lit the candles on the cakes. Okay. And the cakes were round like moons. And they would place the moon-shaped cake, and they would light the tapers or candles and then place them on the temple altars. And what they would do is they would offer this cake up to the goddess Artemis. Yeah, I know, right? That's kind of a downer for some people because they really love birthdays. But you know that that's not why you're doing it, okay? But somebody who has studied or what have you could see something like this taking place. And then they would say, okay, well, do you know that this is pagan? Do you recognize that what you're doing is not a good idea and what have you? Once again, we have to be patient with folk. We have to understand that not everybody is going at the same pace when it comes to walking with the one true God. Okay. So if you feel convicted about birthday celebrating, New Year's celebrating, Christmas, Easter, what have you, chances are that God is definitely working with you. And so you know what to do, right? We all know what to do. We gradually distance ourselves away from anything and everything that is giving honor to everyone but the one true God. Okay. So I just wanted to share that with some individuals because I know some newcomers on the channel. They may not know where I stand when it comes to holiday celebrating. I am not that one, okay, that does all of that. And my kids can attest to that. There is, of course, one holiday left, and I didn't take that holiday away from the younger ones. And that, of course, is the birthday celebrating. But in time, that will fade away as well. When I first started walking this walk, I did not celebrate any type of holidays whatsoever. But then when children came along and the pressure was put upon me in so many different ways, I said, okay, well, I'll do this and I'll do that. And when they were little, I did a whole lot of things. But as they are getting older and they're understanding more about me and my faith and what I'm doing when it comes to the one true God, they know that there are some things that mom's just not going to do. So it is what it is. But if they want to do certain things, like I told them, I said that is up to you. But I know what mission I'm on. I know what God has called me to. And so therefore, it's been a nice run, but I got to get back to where I was before you all came into my life. And that was not celebrating anything. So, this walk can be challenging, but it's well worth the blessings that come when you walk in obedience to the one true God. So thank you as always for tuning in. Please do check the description box for anything that might be of interest. You've been listening to YouTube Interim Enterprise 7. Subscribe today. Also, if you haven't given, we do welcome donations, and blessings to you.